Good morning, YouTube. It's 1:38 p.m., December 1st, 2021. It's a Wednesday afternoon, which the first thing comes to mind. Yeah, I had something I was going to talk about, and as soon as I hit record, that those thoughts are gone, such as the thrills and spills of being me. No, as soon as I said it was Wednesday, I had to think for a moment to remember, wait, what day of the week is it? It is Wednesday. So I'm staying cognizant of that sort of thing. That's a good thing. And to be honest, this whole vlogging thing has helped me be a lot more cognizant of days and dates than I was when I started doing this. In fact, I was actually going back through early this morning. I was kind of laying in bed, lonely, alone, and a little restless. Didn't feel like actually turning on the lights, getting up and doing anything or going anywhere. And keep in mind, I'm still, as you see, on foot, so the whole going anywhere is a substantial effort. So anyway, so I was just kind of looking at some of the old ones and kind of seeing. It was an interesting recap of the last year for me mentally. And I was going to say, the first thought I came into when I had to think about it and realized that today was Wednesday was that first thought that entered my mind there was that damn, yesterday was Taco Tuesday and I never got my tacos. So the reality is that Taco Tuesday requires either spending cash or credit, and right now funds are so ridiculously tight that I'm trying to do every bit of eating I do off of EBT. So it kind of sucks. It kind of hurts being in that place. But that's just kind of where I am, and I figure every dollar saved, not spent on food, is another dollar towards potentially paying my storage rent or my apartment rent. So anyway, as I was mentioning before I almost got so sidetracked that I forgot about taco, mentioning that I missed out on Taco Tuesday, and why is that oh gosh, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so yeah, I was up in the wee hours of the morning and just actually kind of, I was thinking about going up. Actually, I want to say it was about 5:30, maybe 6 a.m. when I was browsing through that stuff and uploading some of the videos from yesterday and the day before. In about that, there's always a delay. Lately it seems to be like 1 to 2, sometimes 3 days. But I noticed when I started, it wasn't unusual for me to be, a whole week or maybe more behind it getting these uploaded. So at least I've kind of got a rhythm on it. And to be honest, I've kind of deliberately slowed down on uploading them just because I've noticed that if I don't have much viewership anyway, and why should I, right? But my life is not that interesting right now. I did notice if I upload 5-6 videos all at once when I get home, because I've got the time and the bandwidth that and ready access to power to the phone so it doesn't die, because that's always a challenge these days. I've noticed if I do that what ends up happening, that's an interesting Christmas display there, isn't it? Funny little pocket of probably fairly inexpensive apartments right here. It's a funny little area right here down 48th Street along the old Crosscut Canal Park. I'm using the sidewalk on 48th Street. As much as I like the path, I've just noticed that if I cross where I cross over there, it's a lot of times easier to get across 48 than it puts me on the east side of the street where I need to be when I'm going to the post office. And and just gets me across the intersection at 48 at McDowell Road a little easier. Also, I've noticed that the sidewalk on this side, south of 48, is a little bit nicer than the sidewalk on the other side. So yeah, there's some more relevant minutia. So I'd throw that out there because I flash over and it's like, ooh, look at that nice path, and why am I not using it? Well, there's a reason. There is a reason. It's kind of disheartening how many patches there are like this in Phoenix, and I see them in other cities too, but just little bits of unmaintained land along streets with however much garbage. This is an extreme amount of garbage, but there's garbage piling up here. It's not pretty, and I'm sure that's one of those little pieces of land that's just considered by everybody to be somebody else's problem. Like, as you see, there's there's people that own houses on the other side of those walls, but I'm sure that the side of the wall that I just showed on video, it's not their property, so technically not their problem, and very out of sight, out of mind. I mean, they live around the corner on another street that's behind them. I would imagine technically that, like, and here we got it here, it's just some overgrown grass, garbage in it, and the remnants of a real estate sign. That's interesting. I don't think that this guy's actually got a driveway into his backyard. If I owned a house on that street, I would definitely want a driveway into 48th Street to access my backyard. That's pretty cool. Anyway, but as you see, there's another more easement there, which is dirty and overgrown. And I would imagine that little swath of property is probably owned by the city of Phoenix, and it's just part of the easement of 48th Street here. But as you can see, the city of Phoenix doesn't give a shit about landscaping or maintaining or cleaning that, and I'm sure it's not even on their radar, as I'm sure they probably just look at that as being space between those homeowners' property and the street. I'm sure the city of Phoenix views it as the responsibility of that homeowner, and most likely from a legal standpoint it might actually be the responsibility of that homeowner. But as you can see, homeowners on the street and block to the east could give two shits about what the wall and the land in front of the wall on the back of their property looks like. On that note, if I owned one of those houses, I would totally do up the landscaping in front of my place, just because I dig that sort of thing. And I really, like, I think about that. I think about, so I've legally, depending on how you define ownership, I've never had my name on a deed. I've had my name on a bunch of legal papers associated with two deeds. So depending on how you define that, I've either owned I've either never owned a house, I've owned one house, or I've owned two houses. It's beeping, so I think the person on the other side is... Wait! The person on the other side of the street over there has hit the button to get across. Oh, she's going the other direction. Hey, look, there's a 17. It's not the way I'm going, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to get across the street. And this is it's McDowell Road, 48th Street. This is kind of the epitome of American Strode. All the exactly what all the anti-car people say is the fall of civilization. And I got three lanes going in each direction, and extra wide left turn lanes and a median. That wasn't too long to wait to get across. Honestly, I don't find these as crosswalks across wide major streets go. I don't find this one to be too bad at all. Honestly, I cross this one a lot. And yeah, McDowell Road is huge. I wish I'd got a better shot of looking out. McDowell Road is actually, now I'm not sure, actually I am sure, 52nd Street is where responsibility of it transitions from the city of Phoenix to Maricopa County Department of Transportation. And it's interesting how different states, different cities, different counties kind of delegate their responsibility for maintaining roads and highways, and maintaining roads and highways, and in the designation of them, you know, as far as like, are they a numbered highway route or whatever. And just reason that's coming to mind right now is just looking at McDowell Road. Like, McDowell Road is definitely on significant portions of it, like that's City of Phoenix where I just crossed, but significant portions of it are maintained by the Maricopa County Department of Transportation, not the Arizona Department of Transportation. So it's not an ADOT road, it's an MC.DOT road. And in other counties where I've lived, roads that are designated as county roads, where county maintains them, and therefore it's a county road or a county highway, depending on how you want to find that, usually have a blue pentagon sign, which will have the name of the county on it. And I've seen these not everywhere in America. I haven't been everywhere in America, but I think the first place I honestly ever noticed those was when I lived in Douglas, Wyoming, and it's in Converse County, Wyoming. And there's a lot of Converse County roads. A lot of them are dirt. Some of them are paved. And all of them have those blue signs with a county number on them. In fact, one I used to use almost daily is, and most of them have names, interestingly enough. One of them was Maricopa County Road number, if memory serves, it was 52, and it was known as Jackalope Road. And the reason that one kind of came on my radar so early is, as a child, I lived in kind of in the central part of Douglas, a little bit on the northern side, near the old high school, which became the old middle school. And now I think the main building has since been destroyed. So I was actually in Douglas for the big total eclipse of the sun, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. I wasn't actually in Douglas for the eclipse, I was in Glendale for the eclipse, but I went to Douglas the day after. And did a little bit of wandering around, just trying to see, you know, how the area I grew up in changed. And of course, some stuff was just exactly the same. It was frightening. You know, here I am, you know, like 35, 40 years later, and I'm walking past stuff that just doesn't look any different whatsoever. And then other stuff is radically different. What was the original high school building, which later was the main middle school building, that building had been, it's bulldozed. I didn't see any remnants of it, even a portion of it that was left. I'm not saying that there isn't a portion, I don't recall noticing it. I was wandering that area late at night. Anyway, so it's dark. But yeah, if I recall, there was some kind of a medical office there, like an urgent care or something. And going, but the other building, which when it was the middle school, I don't think it was ever part of the high school, to be honest, but when it was the middle school, what used to be the 6th grade building, that was still standing and didn't look any different whatsoever. And I do believe there was signage indicating that that building was still being used as the Douglas campus at Eastern Wyoming College, which I found pretty fascinating, because I did actually use that facility as Eastern Wyoming College in 1988. That's where I got my GED. And I didn't take any GED classes there. They offered them. In fact, me getting my GED was pretty much the very definition of doing the absolute minimum possible and phoning it in. And I don't remember exactly what the scores were that I got on my GED, but they were very, very, very high. And the one test that most sticks out in my mind was a math test. I had gotten some legal trouble prior to completing my GED, and it had been put in as a probation requirement. I don't know if it was by the judge or the probation officer, probably the probation officer, that I was to complete my GED by a certain date. So I was kind of like on this whole schedule of, take this test this day, take this test this day. I'd already told her I wasn't taking any classes. I was confident in my knowledge and skills to just take the test, ace the test, which I generally speaking did. But anyway, I did have a very specific date by which I had to have at least completed the test. I mean, if I failed it, it is what it is. It's not expected that every probationer is going to pass those tests. But, it was conditioned my probation that I had to complete the test. And so anyway, the last test I had to do was the math test, and I don't remember if it was I don't remember what the situation was surrounding it. I mean, keep in mind, we're talking, this isn't like late 1988, so a long freaking time ago. It's 3/4 of my life ago. Hell, probably before half the people that watch this vlog were even born. And anyway, I don't remember what the circumstances around me getting there late. I'm generally a pretty damn punctual person, but sometimes shit happens, and I do struggle with anything that involves getting up, because I tend to be a late night person, and I've always really struggled with maintaining any kind of a sleep schedule. Just sometimes the insomnia hits, I can't sleep, and then when that hits, when I finally do get to sleep, I have trouble waking up. So but when I'm up and going, I'm usually very cognizant of time and very punctual. Of course, now my biggest challenge to being punctual is there's a penny in the road. I'm not picking that one up. My biggest challenge to being punctual these days is my transportation situation. But I'm doing my best to cope with it. I was spot on time for my appointments yesterday morning. I had a nurse appointment and a doctor appointment, and made them right on time. And I was a little nervous that, I got to the bus a little later than I wanted to, and I was worried that was going to get me there late, but it didn't. I mean, right on time. In fact, I haven't uploaded that vlog yet, but it's the next one to actually get uploaded. There's a short video of me getting off the Thomas bus and walking over to the mental health clinic. And I'm pretty stoked about that video, because that video is actually the first one that I have shot with my second Obama phone. I don't know the model of the phone. The manufacturer is NU, spelled N-U-U. If that's an acronym for something, I'm not aware of it. It still cracks me up that UMX is an acronym for Ultimate Mobile Experience, when it borders on the worst mobile experience I've ever had. Anyway, yeah, I shot that video. That one's I'll be getting that one uploaded shortly. Anyway, what was I going to say? So yeah, the East Wyoming College building. It's possible I just was up late that night. I mean, considering how 18-year-old me lived, it was very possible that I was up that night, smoking weed, drinking beer, and hanging out with friends. And obviously I didn't forget I had to be at the college building the next day to take my final GED test for the math proficiency, but I certainly did. If I set an alarm, it didn't wake me up. And I remember getting up, and I remember exactly where my apartment was at that time. It's so funny how I can forget what I was talking about 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, 30 seconds ago. But yet sometimes I just remember in such great detail things that happened so many years ago, especially with regards to places and things. Speaking of places and things, this little box was featured in one of my YouTube videos not too long ago, and there was all kinds of exposed wiring here, some kind of a utility box, and warning, cable route, CenturyLink. I don't know if it was because CenturyLink actually noticed it, maintained it, or whatever. It was because it was featured in one of my videos. But as you can see, CenturyLink has put a brand new casing around it, and it's looking a whole lot nicer than it was. So thank you, CenturyLink, for taking care of your shit. Anyway, yeah. So as I was saying, it's weird how I can remember certain details, but like I remember exactly where my apartment was. I don't remember the address in order to recite it, but I remember where it was enough that I could locate it on Google Maps and pull up the address. But I lived on 3rd Street. Are you gonna run me over? Yeah, way to go. You have to look forward when you're driving, not to the left. God, I hate people that drive when they're turning right. They just look to the left and then they drive forward and they're just not cognizant of where they're going. That could have been the big fat paycheck I was waiting for somebody just running me over for no good reason other than their own inattentiveness. But she did see me, or maybe she heard me since I'm here talking to myself. Anyway, so to get back to my apartment in Douglas in late '88, I had an apartment with my best friend Kenny. Huh, crazy, I could still remember his name. I just went to look at my screen to see if this was still recording, and I see a pop-up message that's kind of a relevant one, kind of a very relevant one, and it's hanging on my screen and not going away, which I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, I want to keep rolling video while I'm getting all these thoughts out of my brain. So yeah, I lived in an apartment on the on 3rd Street, just south of Center Street, on the east side of the road. And actually, the corner building, there's a alley. That block has 2 alleys that go through it. There's an alley that's just south of Center that goes east and west. And those familiar with Central Douglas will know that the majority of the alleys go north and south between the numbered streets. And then there's also an alley that ends with a T intersection at that alley, which goes south and splits the rest of that block in 2. Anyway, I lived in the building that was on the corner on the northeast corner of the alley that goes east and west and 2nd Street. How's that for some crazy detailed memory of location? On the 2nd floor or the 3rd floor, depending on how you counted floors. The 2nd floor of that building, what I would consider the 2nd floor, was like a little mezzanine. It wasn't a full floor, but it was a floor above the ground floor, and I was on the floor above that, which had two full 1-bedroom apartments in it. I forget what my rent was, but I'll be honest, of all the roommate and rent situations I've ever had in my adult life, that one actually ranks as one of the best. At the time, Kenny and I were absolute best friends. I feel like him and I, and I just want to be very clear, very platonic relationship. no homo. He had a girlfriend, then he didn't have a girlfriend. And then he had a girlfriend again. And then, wow, I remember his girlfriend. Dang, we're Eskimo brothers. Ain't that something? And then I had a girlfriend, actually, through most of the time we were there. I don't know, her and I would have these spats that we were on again, off, and again more times than I could count. I remember her name too. Her name was Christina. Anyway, we would have the spats. I remember one time Kenny yelled at her. Holy shit, like he just went off her. Like I would never go off at her like that. I rarely go off at anybody like that. And he just went off at her basically along the lines of, look, you need to treat Dan better. You need to fucking breaking up with him and fucking with his emotions like that. Because you know who has to deal with that every time you do it? I do, and I'm fucking sick of it. God, I totally forgot about that until now. I'm just thinking about living there and remember that. Oh my God, that's crazy. God, Christina probably counts as like my first real true love. Come to think about it, I haven't thought about her in forever. God knows whatever happened to her. And at the moment, I can't remember her last name. And after all this time, it's likely that last name has probably changed at least twice. So, anyway, I do remember one time I randomly heard from her. I don't know if I think she looked me up. So when I want to say I was 21, I was living at the first house that I owned. Again, own being a really loose term here, in North Phoenix. And I remember how, I think she just randomly called me one day. It was the craziest thing. You know, back when directory assistance was a thing and landline phones were a thing. And I never did get to see her, but I do remember she was living in Glenrock. Glenrock, Wyoming, which is like the small town that's halfway between Douglas and Casper. Anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about my GED and then phoning in my math test. So, I'm hot, by the way. It's hot as hell out here, and I'm wearing my jacket. That's one of the shittiest things to me about walking is that, especially this time of year, like, I'm roasting in the daytime. It's not hot, but it's like, I want to say mid-80s right now. Oh, I am not missing this light. And I don't dare go out without a jacket because I don't know when I'm going to make it home. Public transportation being what it is. My lack of transportation being what it is. And after the sun goes down, it gets down into the, it gets down into the lower 50s, sometimes even upper 40s. And yeah, short sleeve dress shirt is not cutting it when it gets that cold. I will be freezing my ass off. So right now I'm sweating a lot. Anyway, I better wrap up one of these stories because I'm almost at the post office. So anyway, that's where I was living. Pretty sure Christina was my girlfriend at the time. I don't know. Was it an on again or an off again week? That's hard to pinpoint because there were a lot of those. You know, but at least with her and I not living together, it was pretty easy to point. It was pretty easy to define whether it was an on-again week or an off-again week, which is something I really can't answer when people ask me about what's going on with me and Priscilla. I couldn't even say, are we on again or are we off again? I don't know. Some ways I'm happy with her right now, in some ways I'm really, really, really frustrated with her right now. And I know that feeling is mutual. I was going to talk about that. I really was going to talk about that because boy did that go into an interesting space last night. But obviously I don't even have time to get started on that subject because I'm almost at the post office. So wrapping it up. Wrap up with the GED thing. Yeah, we were... so yeah, I can't remember if Christina was my girlfriend, on again, off again. I was never in any way ever reliant on Christina for transportation. In fact, I would say 90% reliant on Kenny for transportation. God, him and I function more, aside from the fact that we each had sexual relations with somebody else, there was no element of that between him and I. Other than, of course, the time I slept with his girlfriend. Good times. But yeah, there was, sorry, thoughts are so cluttered right now and I'm almost at the post office. Yeah, him and I, that aside, we function more as a married couple than I ever functioned with my wife. And just for the record, my wife and I had a great sexual relationship. That was probably the best thing we had going on. Yeah, like we pooled our money together. We just handled everything together. It was not, well, this is your portion, my portion, blah blah blah. Like there was really none of that. And I'm out of time to get into details about that. So just quickly sum up the GED story while I catch my breath. And damn, I'm sweating like crazy. Yeah, so it was during that time period, and that's where I lived. And Eastern Wyoming College building was on the corner of 5th Street and Walnut. Walnut is 1 street north of Center. So I lived literally 3rd Street, 4th Street, 5th Street, Walnut. So I was 3 blocks away. I walked. I was not relying on Kenny to give me a ride. That was 100% on me. Like, don't recall what Kenny had to do that day. It wasn't my problem. In fact, he probably went to work that day. I probably had that day off. We both worked at the same place, the Chutes Holiday Inn. We worked at the Holiday Inn, and more specifically for the Chutes restaurant within the Holiday Inn. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty sure he was working that day, and I overslept. Anyway, I get there. I want to say there's 5-6 minutes before they close the building. Like, it's a time test, and I think they give you an hour for the test. Memory serves, but they don't stay open past the time the place closed. And I showed up like 6-7 minutes before it closed, and I just told and the woman didn't want to even let me sit for the test, and I'm like, I have to. I will be violating my probation. I don't want to go to jail. If I fail it, but I can't not take it. And she's like, well, okay. She goes, you're gonna have to pay for it again if you fail it. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not violating my probation over something so simple. And then of course, me being cocky me when it comes to stuff like that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pass this anyway. She's like, oh really? And I did. I think I got like a 98% on it. So go me. 1 hour GED test flown through in 5 minutes. Multiple choice, fill in one of 4 boxes. And I just look at the question, look at the answer, and generally speaking, I could look at those questions, and 3 of those 4 answers didn't look right, so I checked the one that did. Just estimating and crunching numbers as quick as I could in my head. Anyway, I forget what the fuck I was going to talk about, but I got to stop talking because I am at the